Good Wednesday, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Conversational Daily News. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. We, of course, have your news headlines coming up on this hump day. We have the truth of the day with Mary Ellen Ciganovich, and in today's entertainment spotlight, being part of my conversation with Dr. Michael Forbes. Enjoy today's broadcast. For Conversational Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with your Wednesday headlines. In Mississippi news, Mississippians divided on COVID-19 booster shot. As the Delta variant continues to surge throughout the country, U.S. health officials are now gearing up for the fight. Health experts are now on the verge of recommending everyone, regardless of age, to receive a booster shot 8 months after the second dose was received. This comes after the FDA recently authorized booster shots for those who are high risk and immunocompromised. Some people said although they didn't expect to receive a third dose, they will take it if needed to remain better protected. There are Jacksonians in Mississippi who said they are still hesitant on receiving their first dose. While health officials still remain focused on targeting those most vulnerable to get the booster shot, many still hope to get the extra protection for their immune system. In international news, Taliban promised women's rights security under Islamic rule. The Taliban vowed on Tuesday to respect women's rights, forgive those who fought them, and ensure Afghanistan does not become a haven for terrorists as part of a publicity blitz aimed at reassuring world powers and a fearful population. Following a lightning offensive across Afghanistan that saw many cities fall to the insurgents without a fight, the Taliban have sought to portray themselves as more moderate than when they imposed a strict form of Islamic rule in the late 1990s. But many Afghans remain skeptical, and thousands have raced to the airport, desperate to flee the country. Older generations remember the Taliban's previous rule, when they largely confined women to their homes, banned television and music, and held public executions. A U.S.-led invasion drove them from power months after the 9/11 attacks, which al-Qaeda had orchestrated from Afghanistan while being sheltered by the Taliban. The Taliban's longtime spokesman emerged from the shadows on Tuesday in his first ever public appearance to address those concerns at a news conference. He promised the Taliban would honor women's rights within the norms of Islamic law without elaborating. The Taliban have encouraged women to return to work and have allowed girls to return to school, handing out Islamic headscarves at the door. A female news anchor interviewed a Taliban official Monday in a TV studio. The Pentagon said U.S. commanders are communicating with the Taliban as they work to evacuate thousands of people through Kabul's international airport. It said the Taliban have taken no hostile actions there. In more international news, tropical storm feeds growing anger in quake-stricken Haiti. Heavy rain from Tropical Storm Grace forced a temporary halt Tuesday to the Haitian government's response to the deadly weekend earthquake, feeding the growing anger and frustration among thousands who were left homeless. Grace battered southwestern Haiti, which was hit hardest by Saturday's quake, and officials warned some areas could get 15 inches of rain before the storm moved on. The storm hit late Monday, the same day that Haiti's Civil Protection Agency raised the death toll from the earthquake to 1,419 and the number of injured to 6,000, many of whom have had to wait for medical help, lying outside in weltering heat. In sports, Tim Tebow's comeback story ends with Jaguars cutting him. Tim Tebow's comeback and NFL career are over. The Jacksonville Jaguars waived Tebow on Tuesday, parting with the 2007 Heisman Trophy winner who switched from quarterback to tight end in hopes of rejuvenating his pro football career. "We knew that was an uphill battle for Tim," said the coach who recruited Tebow to nearby Florida. "Players loved him, locker room loved him, but it was the right thing to do." Tebow's blocking ranged from awkward to awful in Jacksonville's preseason opener against Cleveland on his 34th birthday. The polarizing player went viral for 2 botched attempts on the opening drive of the third quarter Saturday night, the second one more egregious than the first. In business news, Wall Street slips as retail sales post steep drop in July. Stocks closed lower on Wall Street Tuesday, ending a 5-day winning streak by the S&P 500 as investors turned cautious amid more signs that the coronavirus pandemic is still holding back the U.S. economy. And finally, in entertainment news, after years of suspicion, reckoning for high-flying R. Kelly. Most people know him for I Believe I Can Fly, the 1996 sing-along hit that became an inspirational anthem played at school graduations, weddings, and in advertisements. But starting this week, what prosecutors say was a not-so-secret dark side of R&B superstar R. Kelly will be presented in lurid detail for a jury in New York City. The federal trial comes after years of frustration among women who say they were sexually abused by the 54-year-old singer, who denies any wrongdoing. Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. It's on time for the Truth of the Day with Mary Ellen Ciganovich. Mary Ellen, take it away.
Hi, this is Mary Ellen with your Truth of the Day. Keep hope alive. Hope gives you strength to move forward, especially when it seems like the odds are stacked against you. Hope is the spark to keep your dreams alive. When you pull the plug on hope, you give up motivation, resolve, or any reason for you to stick with your dream or your goal. No matter what the situation, good or bad, everything will play out to your best possible outcome when you keep thoughts of hope and success in your heart. Allow hope to flourish, even through thoughts of distrust and despair. This spark of hope gives you strength to move forward with enthusiasm, allowing thoughts of distrust and despair to fall away. Today, be hopeful, even when facing great challenges, as you go about and enjoy the day.
Dr. Michael Forbes is featured in today's Entertainment Spotlight. We're here on Conversation Daily News. For Conversation Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with Entertainment Spotlight. Dr. Michael Forbes joined me recently on Conversations Live, the radio show, to talk about the recent spike in RSV, a common contagious virus that causes a flu-like illness. Here's a bit of our conversation. So let our audience know, what exactly is RSV, and why should parents in particular be on the alert?
Sure. RSV, as you alluded to, is a common, highly contagious winter virus. It typically shows up in cold and flu season. This year, primarily because of what we've been doing to control COVID-19, we're starting to see much more RSV in the summer, which we've really never seen for most of the United States.
So what did the CDC then recommend, Dr. Forbes, because of that unusual spike in cases? And what does that mean, do you think, for the season ahead?
Sure. So in late March, the CDC began to see an uptick in the number of RSV cases and issued an advisory. Typically, we see very little RSV in the summer, but in early June, nationally, we were at 3%, which doesn't sound like a lot, but typically it's almost nothing. And by early August, it had increased fivefold to 15%. Here in Akron, we're seeing about 30%. And so we know that this is a huge blip. It's a national problem. And the CDC issued an advisory shortly thereafter that basically said, be on the lookout and broaden your testing. The CDC was particularly concerned about infants and toddlers due to the fact that when RSV happened last year, there's some background immunity this year. Last year, because of our public health measures around COVID, there was almost no RSV. This year, it looks as if we're kind of getting a double whammy. We're getting it in the summer, and as we look into the winter, there is some concern on the part of the CDC and then all of us in healthcare that the season not only started earlier, but will continue a lot longer, putting our infants and toddlers at increased risk of severe disease.
Well, definitely we can see. Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. We thank you all for tuning in to this edition of Conversations Daily News. We'll be up to you guys on tomorrow's more news, Truth of the Day with Mary Ellen Ciganovich, and of course your Entertainment Spotlight. Until then, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Daily News today. Let's make today amazing. Take care.